Hashtag the truth about superfoods. Flavor Vault. You've seen them everywhere. Glowing health claims on grocery store shelves, celebrity endorsements on social media, entire aisles dedicated to powders, berries, and seeds that promise to transform your health overnight. Superfoods. The word itself sounds almost magical, like nature handed us a secret weapon and we're only just discovering it. But here's the question nobody seems to be asking loudly enough: is any of it actually real? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the superfood industry, separating genuine nutritional science from clever marketing, and giving you the full, honest picture of what these foods can and cannot do for your body. Let's start at the very beginning. The term superfood is not a scientific or medical classification. There is no regulatory definition for it in the United States, and most other countries share the same gap. The European Union actually banned the use of the word on food packaging back in 2007 unless it was accompanied by a specific, approved health claim backed by verified scientific evidence. That single fact tells you a great deal. When an industry term is considered too misleading for European food regulators, it deserves serious scrutiny. The concept of superfoods as a modern marketing phenomenon really gained momentum in the early 2000s. Stephen Pratt, a physician, published a book called Superfoods RX in 2003, listing 14 foods he believed could prevent disease and extend life. The timing was perfect. Consumers were growing more health-conscious, the internet was making information accessible, and food companies were hungry for ways to differentiate their products. The word took on a life of its own, and the global superfoods market is now valued at over $200 billion, with projections showing continued explosive growth throughout this decade. So what actually qualifies something to enter the superfood conversation? Generally speaking, these are whole foods with notably high concentrations of specific nutrients, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, omega fatty acids, or phytonutrients, that have been linked in scientific studies to positive health outcomes. And here's where things get genuinely interesting, because the science itself is often real and compelling. The problem lies in how that science gets interpreted, amplified, and monetized. Take blueberries, perhaps the most iconic superfood of them all. The research is legitimately impressive. Blueberries are extraordinarily rich in anthocyanins, which are flavonoid compounds that give the berries their deep blue-purple pigment. Multiple peer-reviewed studies have connected regular blueberry consumption to improved cognitive function, reduced oxidative stress, better cardiovascular health, and lower blood pressure. A 2012 study published in the Annals of Neurology found that women who consumed 2 or more servings of blueberries per week showed a slower rate of cognitive decline as they aged. That is genuinely remarkable data. But here's the nuance that marketing erases. These benefits were observed as part of an overall balanced diet. Eating a handful of blueberries while maintaining poor sleep habits, high stress levels, a sedentary lifestyle, and a diet dominated by processed foods is not going to unlock their full potential. Context is everything in nutrition science, and superfood marketing almost always strips that context away entirely. Let's look at a few more case studies, because understanding the patterns helps you navigate the entire category more intelligently. Kale became a cultural phenomenon roughly between 2010 and 2015. And yes, kale is genuinely nutritious. 1 cup of raw kale provides more than 100% of your daily recommended intake of vitamins K, A, and C. It contains glucosinolates, sulfur-containing compounds that some research suggests may have cancer-protective properties. It delivers meaningful amounts of calcium and antioxidants. Kale is, by any reasonable measure, an excellent vegetable. However, during the height of the kale craze, it was being marketed and consumed in ways that bordered on absurd. Kale chips, kale smoothies, kale-infused everything. And simultaneously, the wild overconsumption of raw kale became a concern for some individuals. Kale contains compounds called oxalates that can contribute to kidney stones in people predisposed to them. It also contains goitrogens, substances that in very large quantities may interfere with thyroid function. These risks are minor for most people eating varied diets, but they illustrate how superfood hype can push people toward overconsumption that actually works against their health. Quinoa presents a similar story. This ancient grain, technically a seed, became enormously popular because it is genuinely one of the rare plant sources of complete protein, containing all 9 essential amino acids. It's also gluten-free, high in fiber, and rich in magnesium and iron. Impressive credentials. But the quinoa boom had unintended consequences. Demand from wealthy Western consumers drove prices so high in Bolivia and Peru, the traditional growing regions, that local populations who had depended on quinoa as a dietary staple for centuries could no longer afford it. This is a dimension of the superfood conversation that rarely gets discussed: the global ethical and economic ripple effects of sudden Western demand for specific foods. Now let's talk about the ones that are more questionable. Acai berries are a fascinating example. Native to the Amazon rainforest, acai became a sensation in the mid-2000s, largely through aggressive multi-level marketing companies selling acai supplements and concentrated juices with claims ranging from dramatic weight loss to cancer prevention and enhanced sexual function. The Federal Trade Commission took action against several companies making these claims because the evidence simply did not support them. Acai does contain antioxidants. It does have a solid nutritional profile with healthy fats and fiber. But its antioxidant capacity, often measured using the ORAC score, is not dramatically superior to many far cheaper and more accessible foods like everyday cranberries, wild blueberries, or even dried herbs like oregano and cinnamon. You are paying premium prices for marketing, not miracles. Goji berries followed a similar trajectory. These small red berries from China and the Himalayas carry a long history in traditional Chinese medicine. They contain beta-carotene, zeaxanthin important for eye health, and various vitamins. But clinical studies in healthy human populations have generally shown modest effects that are entirely consistent with what you'd expect from any nutritious berry. The mythology surrounding them, that Himalayan monks eating goji berries routinely lived past 120 years, is largely anecdotal storytelling that nutrition companies borrowed for their packaging copy. Turmeric, and specifically its active compound curcumin, deserves its own extended discussion because the scientific story here is genuinely fascinating and more complicated than most people realize. Laboratory studies have shown that curcumin has powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Some research suggests potential benefits for joint pain, cognitive health, and even certain cancer-related pathways. The problem is bioavailability. Curcumin is notoriously difficult for the human body to absorb from food alone. Your liver processes it quickly and it doesn't reach meaningful concentrations in your bloodstream through a simple serving of curry. This is why researchers studying curcumin therapeutically use specialized formulations, often paired with piperine from black pepper to enhance absorption. So turmeric in your diet is genuinely beneficial, but the golden lattes and superfood turmeric supplements promising dramatic results are likely delivering far less than advertised. What does the broader scientific community actually say about all of this? The consensus among registered dietitians and nutritional scientists is consistent and clear. No single food, regardless of how nutritionally dense it is, can compensate for an overall poor dietary pattern. The research framework that consistently produces the best long-term health outcomes isn't built around superfoods. It's built around dietary patterns. The Mediterranean diet, for example, which emphasizes vegetables, legumes, whole grains, olive oil, fish, and moderate wine consumption, has decades of robust epidemiological research linking it to reduced rates of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and certain cancers. Not because it includes any magical single ingredient, but because of the cumulative, synergistic effect of eating a diverse range of whole foods consistently over years. This is the concept nutritionists call the whole diet approach, and it fundamentally challenges the superfood model. When you eat a varied diet rich in colorful vegetables and fruits, quality proteins, whole grains, and healthy fats, you create a nutritional ecosystem in your body that is far more powerful than any single isolated ingredient can replicate. An ordinary carrot provides beta-carotene. Regular spinach gives you iron and folate. Everyday lentils deliver protein and fiber.